Married for 21, together for 30. Welcome to the No Bullshit podcast. I'm trying out some new technology here today, folks, so bear with me. Always trying something new, trying to bring you guys better quality. Sorry, I can only bring you so much from my end as far as quality, but yeah, I started off this podcast talking about 21 years married, 30 years being together. And that's what we're going to get into. I'm going to touch on something, on a topic I don't normally touch on. It's been brought up to me a couple of times, and actually most recently, like today, through somebody that, I care a lot about, a good buddy of mine. And yeah, I just wanted to bring to you guys some insights that I shared with him. And I'm going to bring those insights to you guys. I'm going to give you some of the insights of some of the things that I'm going to share openly that I don't think I've done the best at. Some things that I've made changes to, and some of I'd say the top 3 to 5. Let's start with that. Tips on what has allowed my beautiful wife Jennifer and I to have a great life together. Through lots of trials and tribulations. So that's what we're talking about today on the No Bullshit podcast for contractors. Okay, let's get into it. So, I get asked through a lot of buddies of mine, and obviously meeting a lot of people, a lot of contractors out there. A lot of the people that we work with are husband and wife businesses or family businesses. And I get asked, like, how the heck have you done it? Well, first of all, they typically ask, hey, man, how long have you guys been married? Or how long have you been married, Andrew? I'm like, I think 19 years, 18 years. By the way, I just text Jen to make sure that I got these numbers right. See, I'm being straight up with you. No bullshit. Jen said to me, she goes, good thing you're cute. So, yeah, been together for 21 years. Been together for 30 years. See, I got that wrong. And married for 21. And I get often asked, like, what are some of the tips, Andrew? What are some of the tricks? What are some of the things that you would suggest? Sometimes this comes up because I got buddies that, or people I know that are going through tough times, or they're being challenged with their relationship. I'm drinking this Naked Pursuance. Oh, that's the French side. Green Machine. Good stuff here. Okay. So, look, I'm not going to say I'm a Dr. Phil. I'm not going to say that I'm some expert at this. But I'm just going to give you the real deal. Some of the things that come to mind for me today. This is going to be a short podcast. I'm going to wrap this baby up in like 10 minutes. So maybe I'll revisit it if you guys want to get some insights. More on this front, then I can do that as well. So I think one of the biggest things when I look back is resiliency. I said this to my buddy, and it's just going to probably come off really bad, but it's the first thing that came to my mind when I was talking to him, and I'll share it with you guys. Resiliency. So part of my personality profile, part of what drives me is I love to be challenged, okay? As much as I might complain about it, as much as, I might whine or, get bothered by doing things that might be challenging, in nature. Maybe it takes I'm thinking it's too long to solve a problem or what have you. But being challenged, I think, as entrepreneurs, that's one of the things that drives us, right? And, our resiliency to constantly want to do things, as much as we might say, oh, we want things to be easier. Even when things do, even with our clients where we turn things around, it could be a short period of time, could be a couple of months, could be 6 months, where they're making more profits, they've got more freedom, they got more time with their family. It's only a matter of time, and they want to be challenged. So they start taking on new projects. They start, wanting to expand the business. They want to, try, something different, learn something different, whatever it is, but they're constantly challenging themselves, right? It's like part of our DNA. So what the hell does this have anything to do with, my marriage and my relationship with my beautiful wife, Jennifer, and my two beautiful children, Michael and Maddie? Is I love to be challenged. And, we went through a tough time, Jen and I'd highly advise for anybody listening in that, if you're struggling with things as a relationship, as partners, definitely go out and seek professional help. Jen and I got lots of professional help individually, couples, therapy, all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I grew up in a world where that was not really supported, right? That was looked upon as being weak. And look, I get it. I'm not going to look down on my parents who didn't really support that when I was growing up, especially my father, because that was part of who they were as far as immigrants and coming over here. Is they had to be tough. They had to be resilient. They had to not show emotion. At least that's how they thought they had to be. And, I'm going to take their word for it. So I like being challenged. And when I've been faced with situations with, Jennifer and I dealing with different challenges, I think recognizing that I'm okay with being challenged means that I know that I can be resilient enough to get through it. So I think that's one key principle is to understand as entrepreneurs, for all you guys listening in, gals, that you have a gift of resiliency, right? You can't be an entrepreneur without being resilient. And that goes hand in hand with taking on challenges. So when I look at our marriage, I look at it like a challenge. Okay. And I'm like, bring it on, man. Like, seriously, bring it on. That doesn't mean that it's easy all the time, but instead of looking at it and like thinking, oh, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, oh, this isn't working out for me, oh, Jen's not the same woman. I could be saying, hey, Jen's not the same woman that I met, when we first got together. Well, fuck, hell not. I hope not. I mean, first of all, we weren't officially married or together. And that wouldn't have mattered if we had gotten married or not. I remember when we were first together, it took 9 years before I proposed to Jen because I was, again, I don't know, I guess I liked the challenge. Everybody wanted us to get married. And I was like, screw that. I'm going to do something different, right? I'm not going to do what everybody else says. But it was when she said, hey, I'd like my grandmother to see me get married. I was like, that's it. We got engaged and things went on. But being challenged, accepting challenge, being resilient, knowing that if you're willing to work on something together, that you're going to get through it is a huge part of it. So that's number one principle. A couple more principles. I said I'd give you 3 to 5. So let's get going quick on this. I think the second thing is to recognize that you're not meant to be the person that you are today. Okay. And neither is your partner. It does come back to challenge, but again, this is first of all recognizing that you have to evolve. Times are changing. Look at this COVID thing. Whether or not you got a partner or not, I mean, just the COVID thing has changed how people see the world and how the world sees us and everything, right? Who knows where it's going to go? But when you look at yourself, be willing to evolve. I think the best example, and I think a lot of you fathers out there and mothers out there can relate, is as much as somebody wants to understand and say to you, oh man, I know, that don't have kids. Okay. This where, where I'm going with this, that they're like, oh yeah, I get it. It must be really tough getting up in the middle of the night. I used to say that to people, oh man, it must be tough. I had no idea until I became a father and until Jen became a mother, right? That what did that actually mean? But I think, willing to adapt and be open for change and put that pride aside for, to be open to change and this is the key, be open to change and be willing to change at the rate at which the change is needed. I'll say it again. Be willing to change, but be willing to change at the rate that the change is needed. When I became a father, I couldn't say, hey man, I'm going to start wanting to change into becoming this father in a year from now or 2 years. No, man, it was like becoming a father actually was before actually the kids came into this world, right? It was, during the pregnancy, even before the pregnancy, like talking about it, like that's change. And I've dropped the ball, man. I've screwed up. I still screw up, and we still get in arguments from time to time. My grandfather used to say to me, he says, "A good Irish marriage is a marriage where there's always a good fight every once in a while, that you learn from it, that you appreciate each other for it, and that a good argument, a good scrap every once in a while means that it's real." And I think that's true. Okay, that's at least how I look at things. Not to hold grudges and what have you, but be willing to adapt to your situation and be willing to become that person that you need to be. And that might be having to do things that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. Well, suck it up, man. Again, you have to be willing to adapt and become that person that you're meant to be at the rate that you need to be. So whatever that is for you. So number one is, love a challenge. Number two is change at the rate of change based upon the speed that is needed. Okay, waiting and waiting and waiting, puts the other person in a bad situation. Where they're waiting for you to be that husband, waiting for you to be that father, waiting for you to be that partner. Well, they're not going to wait forever, right? So third thing, and it's one of the most important things, is you got to reflect on yourself. You got to reflect on some of the things that you're doing, some of the things that you've done right, some of the things that you might not have recognized for yourself, and some of the things that your partner has been doing that you might not be recognizing. That takes energy, that takes effort. I think, that's huge, right? If you can't recognize and love yourself for the things that you've been doing, things that you've been adapting to, what you've been willing to put up with, whatever those things are, you can't expect other people to recognize it, right? Recognize it for yourself. It's not being selfish. It's looking upon who you are and appreciating who you are. Again, I'm going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. And just as important is recognizing that other person and what they've done, for you, for the kids. Like, Jennifer does so much for me and for the kids. Honestly, if I was to compare us, people say it's equal. Bullshit, it's equal. Jen does way more. Jen, if you're listening in on this, Jen does way more than what I do. Yes, I've heavily put in time into this business. Yes, I've done a lot of things. Okay, so I'm recognizing that. But when it comes to our children, when it comes to on the family side, coordinating things, being the quarterback, making sure the kids are being picked up on time, like all that kind of stuff. Like, she's just resilient in reminding me and staying on top of those types of things. It's unbelievable. And I need to consistently try and recognize that more and more. So there's three, okay? I'm going to give you a fourth, maybe a quick fifth. Number 4, you've got to change your habits. There was a phase with the kids and Jennifer and I. My daughter's 18, Michael's 16, but there was a phase just in the last few years where everybody was just so busy. We weren't taking in my opinion, the right amount of time to sit down and have a dinner together, and Jen's opinion as well. And we were just letting that go and letting that go. Well, I tell you what, I never forget how strict my mom was. God love you, Mom. And my dad, enforced it quite hard, physically, verbally, that we had to be home for dinner. Like, we had to have family dinner. Sunday dinner was super, super important. And those conversations that happened at that dinner table with my parents are really important. They were foundational. They really made me understand that my mom and my dad, were interested in how my week went or how my day went, and vice versa. What's going on in everybody else's world. Like, we actually were able to be a family in that moment. And I think a lot of families. Again, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just saying, at least for me on my end, we started slacking on that. And once we started enforcing it, it's amazing the communication that happened amongst all of us. as a family unit, sitting down for dinner. So that's just an example of creating habits that, have really enforced and really helped Jennifer and I on a weekly, times 4, 5, 6 times a week with the kids, get on the same page, make sure everybody's, being held accountable, doing the things that we got to do, and appreciating each other. We do little tiny rituals like, hey, so what was like one thing that you learned today that you didn't know, or something funny, or whatever. But we have a bit of a ritual. I like the word ritual, rich you all, right? I mean, if we have rituals, then we are rich, all of us, right? I like that. So having great rituals is super, super important. And I guess my last one is take action. Be intentional today. Don't think that, I'm going to do this thing, whatever that is, or do something different for the next 30 days. Like just, start small. Like what's one thing that you could do today that's going to allow you to show your love to your partner, to the one that you love. And I love being crazy. I think Jen's the only one that could put up with my craziness, but I like being crazy. I like doing things that are off the wall that you would never think that I would do. That could be, going, getting your car washed, surprising her. She thinks it's been stolen, or I don't know, that kind of stuff. And the list goes on, but make it exciting. Be intentional. Have a great life. Hopefully this helps some of you guys and gals. It's not complicated. I think it's just consistent work and hard work. You're already a hardworking person if you're an entrepreneur, man, woman, or what have you, listening in on this. Hopefully this was a good podcast, a little bit mask off under the hood. And, remember, your business is only a vehicle that feeds your freedom, right? And understand that the reason you're in business primarily is to have a great life. And that means with your partner and the ones around you that you love. So make that happen. Make it a priority and start with the small things. A lot of great things that are going to improve your marriage and your life, for till the end of days, are things that don't cost anything, but just being intentional and showing how much you love for somebody. I love Stephen Covey. I'll leave it off with this. He says, love is a verb. I think he said a verb and a noun. I'm not the best with English, but it's a verb and a noun, right? It's an action and it's an emotion, right? To love is you can start loving somebody better today or in the next minutes after this podcast and take action on it. And you can emotionally feel it as well. So make that happen. See you guys on the flip side. This is Andrew Houston from Profit for Contractors, the no bullshit podcast for contractors. And we'll see you guys on the flip side later.